Representative Steve King from Iowa has a penchant for flirting with white supremacists. That's frowned upon. At least to some, maybe not necessarily to a base that he wants to dredge up, coming out of the ether in order to vote for him. But people are beginning to notice. He gets asked the question that he doesn't particularly like. He melts down completely, entirely, from zero to meltdown, and ends up calling security. Let me, let me do this first.
And the terrorist who committed this crime, he was quoted this dead. And the terrorist who committed this crime, he was quoted as saying, "They bring invaders in that kill our people. I can't sit back and watch our people get slaughtered." You, Steve King, have been quoted as saying, "We can't restore our civilization with other people's babies." You and the shooter both share an ideology that is fundamentally anti-immigration.
Do not associate me with that shooter. I knew you were an ambusher when you walked in the room, but there's no basis for that, and you get no question, you get no answer.
I was about to ask you what distinguishes your ideology.
We don't play these games here in Iowa.
I was about to ask you what distinguishes your ideology.
You crossed the line. It's not tolerable to accuse me to be associated with a guy that shot 11 people in Pittsburgh. I am a person who has stood with Israel from the beginning. That the length of that nation is the length of my life.
I was about to
say, and I've been with them all along, and I will not answer your question. I'll not listen to another word from you.
If you don't have a white supremacist worldview, then why did you travel to Austria and meet with a white supremacist organization?
I think he's given up. I think he's given his answer. I think that his answer is his answer. Yes.
But do you identify as a white supremacist?
Sir,
stop it.
Sir,
then why did you meet with the white supremacist organization in Austria?
They're done. I would ask whoever is guarding this door to lead this man out of the room.
Yeah.
I live and work in the 4th District. My wife lives and works in the 4th District. My kids live and attend school.
He said the length of what? The length of Israel is the length of my life. What? What? Is that a saying? That's not a saying. And just so we're clear here, let me repeat what he said here. He said the length. He said an intense exchange, right. The length of Israel is the length of my life. That's amazing. That's amazing. Are you American or Israeli? Which one are you? Why doesn't that statement bother more people? Why would the length of Israel be the length of his life? Wouldn't that be the length of America be the length of his life if you want to be this patriot, per se? I find that to be an amazing statement, but people say shit like that all the time and don't get called on it. That said, for all of the flip it out and all this other stuff, the question here is it a valid question? Is it a legit question? Is it fair to ask Steve King, is he or does he identify as a white supremacist if he has flirted with people who have identified with white supremacists? And if so, why? What's the difference? Maybe he has a good answer for what's the difference. Maybe he has a substantive answer on why we should keep his policies towards immigration or something to that effect. I mean, I guess my point is, sometimes questions like that give you the opportunity to knock that shit out of the park. Sometimes they don't. Especially if there's more than the grain of truth to what is being put towards Steve King. To make that point clear, this is Fortune magazine. And let's flip. I'm not going to keep this one long because it's, for fuck's sake, 4 in the morning here. Steve King loses national GOP support and more corporate donors over endorsing white supremacists. What do you know? What do you know? So apparently the guy who's asking him that question wasn't necessarily way out of left field. I mean, clearly his corporate donors are leaving him. And he's been losing support. Let's see. King recently endorsed an avowed white nationalist, Faith Goldy, who ran for mayor of Toronto and received 3.4% of the vote. Poor choice. Poor choice. You burned that bridge on 3.4% of the vote. That was not a hill that you should have been willing to die on, but fair enough. Do you, boo. On October 25th, the Washington Post reported that King had met with the far-right Austrian party and Nazi roots and gave an interview to its website following a trip to Auschwitz funded by the Holocaust Memorial Group. Oh! You used a Holocaust Memorial Group, funding from a Holocaust Memorial Group, to meet with a far-right Austrian Nazi? That's a fail, dog. That's a fail. Not just a fail. That's a fail in an ironic way. Jesus fucking Christ. The NRCC spins in congressional races, especially in close elections, and it confirmed its withdrawal from funding from King in the last days of the King's battle to retain his seat. Shelton first seemed a long shot, giving King's last election in 2016 with a 23% lead over the Democratic opponent in county that Trump took by 27%. Not anymore. However, Shelton dramatically outraised King in direct contributions by $1.7 million to $740,000. Apparently, people don't like people playing footsie with white nationalists or racists. Most of King's expenses have been for family salaries and fundraising expenses with no TV ads. Yeah, apparently he wasn't necessarily wrong. And by the way, just so we're clear, it's not just fortune. Steve Stivers, Republican, Congressman Steve King's recent comments, actions, and retweets are completely inappropriate. This is another Republican. Just so we're clear. We must stand up against white supremacy and hate in all forms, and I strongly condemn his behavior with every fiber of my being. He didn't say that, I said that. Yeah. So, me don't think the lady protests far, far too much. And I suspect that angst and that I will answer the question had to do with some of the heat that he's been getting from his Republican colleagues, not just from the left, but from his own side on this point. So, again, I'm not going to keep this one long. I'm going to leave this one here. This is, like they say, a drive-by post. Let's see, Frank 805 emo. This is called far-right nationalists in Europe are just control opposition puppets that have back interests behind them. Environment and coffee house. That's a fail. That is a fail. I got to be honest. You have to deal with that question with a light touch. I'll say it that way. Republican Party is dangerous. Most dangerous. Republican Party is dangerous, but I would argue that the fight needs to take place in the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party. As batshit crazy and as rabid as the Republican Party is, they've only gotten that way because the Democratic Party has moved so far to the left. So far to the right. And to some degree, evidence of that. We, on the left, have pushed assiduously for Medicare for all. Like, pushed hard for it. To some degree, even the tip of the spear. And to hear Donald Trump come out saying that he's putting out a Medicare prescription drug program that's tethering drug costs to socialist countries is mind-blowing. The fact that he would even float it is mind-blowing. Whether or not he goes through it or not, it's, a week before the campaign, so this could all just be campaign rhetoric. But you can yank them back just by virtue of public appeal. And I suspect him looking at polls sees, oh my God, 70% of the country is for this, and I'm trying to take away the basic Obamacare that people have. Yeah. I would say this. I think the fight needs to take place on the left. Honestly. The left needs to define what it is. Republican Party is batshit crazy, but they've only gotten that way because of the Democratic Party moved so far to the right. They have gone off of a fucking cliff talking about the Republican Party. They're playing footsie with the white nationalists, plays nice with his base. And so that's what he did. He was trying to drum up support for his campaign. Failed. Fail. Complete and utter fail. I'll leave it here. Alright guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support.